Go in, go in, go in, go in, go in, man, go in.
Let's transition to a matchup in Kansas City as the 4-1 Detroit Lions and Jared Goff are traveling to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes and the 2-3 Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 2.5 points. It's an 8:20 p.m. kickoff on NBC. The over-under for this matchup is 52.5 points. So, when I look at this matchup, let's compare the quarterbacks. Jared Goff versus Patrick Mahomes. This is in head-to-head matchups in their careers. Jared Goff has 2 wins against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has 0 wins against Jared Goff. Goff has 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Mahomes has 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Goff's QBR is 72. Mahomes' QBR is 72. So Goff is the only quarterback Mahomes has multiple starts against that he's never beaten. Only Jared Goff. So that is very, very impressive stuff from Jared Goff. And that's actually where I want to begin tonight when it comes to this matchup between the Lions and the Chiefs. I'm looking at a Jared Goff for the season. Jared Goff, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1,187 passing yards, completing 75% of his passes. And Jared Goff's completion percentage is ranked first in the NFL. His 12 passing touchdowns is ranked first in the NFL. His passer rating at 120.7 is ranked second in the NFL. And the Detroit Lions, they have been balling since their week 1 loss against the Packers. And the Lions have scored 30 in 4 straight games. The Lions had 52 against the Bears in week 2. The Lions had 38 in week 3 against the Ravens. The Lions had 34 against the Browns in week 4. And in week 5 against the Bengals, the Lions had 37 points. And a big reason why the Lions have had 4 straight games scoring 30 points or more is because of Jared Goff. And I believe Jared Goff is one of those quarterbacks who is very, very underappreciated. And I am going to give Jared Goff his flowers here right now on the show, because Jared Goff has went to Detroit, and the Detroit Lions, they have been a contender since Jared Goff came to Detroit, and he has led them to multiple playoff appearances, and they even got to a conference championship game that they should have won a few years ago against the Niners if Dan Campbell kicks a few field goals. But I'm looking at Jared Goff since he's been in Detroit. Let's look at his numbers. First season, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not great. Second season, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, over 4,400 passing yards. Third season, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, over 4,500 passing yards. Last year, 37 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, over 4,600 passing yards. And this year, so far, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, over 1,100 passing yards in the first 5 weeks of the season. And the thing is about the Detroit Lions, we always talk about their running game with Sonic and Knuckles, with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. We always talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown as one of the best receivers in pro football. We've talked about their former offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson as an elite play caller in that Lions system. We've talked about Dan Campbell and his philosophy and his approach as an NFL head coach. And that's an aggressive approach for Dan Campbell. But we don't speak enough about Jared Goff's greatness. And I believe we have underappreciated Jared Goff at the quarterback position. No, Jared Goff will never be considered a Matthew Stafford or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. But I believe Jared Goff is a good quarterback who you can win a Super Bowl with. And to me, I remember when the Lions, when they made the trade, the Lions traded for Jared Goff, the Rams moved off of Goff, and they traded for Matthew Stafford. At the time, I said that the Rams won that trade. And Matthew Stafford did win a Super Bowl with the LA Rams. And he has had a lot of success with Sean McVay. But let's not forget, Jared Goff also led the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance. And to me, in totality, I believe that trade was an even trade because Jared Goff is balling. Now, I do think Stafford is a better quarterback than Jared Goff is. But I think Stafford's probably going to retire either this year or next year. And the Lions will have Jared Goff for a few more seasons. And so to me, the Lions-Rams trade, swapping Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, to me could be viewed as an even trade. But when I look at Jared Goff and think about Jared Goff as a quarterback, I believe Jared Goff is a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. I don't believe Jared Goff is this talented quarterback like a Lamar Jackson, like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes, like an Aaron Rodgers was in his prime. But I believe Jared Goff is a damn good quarterback, and he's the ultimate professional, and he gets the job done. Now, he doesn't have great mobility, but as a pure pocket passer, Jared Goff can throw the football at an elite level. He can make all the throws, and he does whatever is asked of him in that Lions system. And so we always talk about Ben Johnson and how great Ben Johnson was as a play caller, but I believe that Jared Goff has been the most consistent player in that Lions offense, and he's the reason why the Lions are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And right now, I believe he's an MVP candidate. I think right now, at the top of the NFL MVP candidate list, it needs to be Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Jared Goff. That's how great Jared Goff has been playing for the Detroit Lions. Now, when I look at the Detroit Lions offense, obviously they have Sonic and Knuckles in the backfield, Sonic being Jahmyr Gibbs and Knuckles being David Montgomery. The Lions, statistically, they have been great. They average 135 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 7th in the NFL. And both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery scored touchdowns against the Bengals last week. David Montgomery even had a passing touchdown. But Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, in the Super Bowl era, along with Emmitt Smith and Darryl Johnson, it was the 14th game when both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery each scored an offensive touchdown. So only Emmitt Smith and Darryl Johnson has had as many games by a running back duo and scoring touchdowns. So they are an elite company. And obviously, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown at receiver. And I think St. Brown is one of the top receivers in the NFL. For the season, 35 receptions, 407 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. But I am waiting for this offense to involve Jameson Williams more, because Jameson Williams has tremendous speed and he is a tough cover for opposing defenses. For the season, Williams only has 11 receptions for 223 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. If they can get Williams more involved in this offense, I think it takes this offense to another level. I really, really do. And this Lions offensive line, they have the best O-line arguably in pro football. I think the Lions and the Eagles have the 2 best offensive lines in the NFL. And on that O-line, you got Graham Glasgow, okay? At left tackle, you got Taylor Decker. You still got Penei Sewell at right tackle. So I really, really like this Lions team offensively. They have 0 weaknesses as an offense. And they got Sam Laporta at tight end as well. I think Sam Laporta is one of the best young tight ends that we have in the NFL. Now, in this game, they're going to be going up against a Steve Spagnuolo defense in the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs, as a defense, they struggle against the run. They give up 123 rushing yards per game, which is ranked 21st in the NFL. So the Lions, they could have some success in this matchup with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So that's going to be key. And I'm looking at this Chiefs defensive line. Obviously, you got star pass rusher in Chris Jones. You got Mike Dana. And in that linebacker room, you got Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton as well. But it's going to be interesting to see, can the Chiefs contain the Lions rushing attack with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? That's going to be one of the keys in this matchup. And the Chiefs, they are pretty good against the pass. They give up 100 or 191 passing yards per game. That's ranked 7th in the NFL. And so they are better against the pass than they are against the run. So that's going to be a key in this matchup. The Lions offense versus the Chiefs defense. Can the Chiefs contain the Lions rushing attack featuring Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery? Now, when it comes to the other side of the ball, the Chiefs are 2-3, and they are led by Patrick Mahomes. And for the season, Patrick Mahomes, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completing 63% of his passes. I've felt like Patrick Mahomes over the last 2 weeks, week 5 against the Jaguars and then week 4 against the Ravens, I felt like the Chiefs offense has come alive. Against the Ravens in week 4, the Chiefs had 37 points. They had 118 rushing yards, 264 passing yards in that game, 382 total yards of offense. And Patrick Mahomes had one of his best performances probably over the last 2 years in that game against the Ravens in week 4. 270 passing yards. He went 25 for 37, 4 touchdowns. But the Ravens defense is arguably the worst defense in pro football. But even against the Jaguars, Mahomes, 29 for 41. He throws for 318 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And so I thought in week 4, scoring 37 against the Ravens, and in week 5, scoring 28 against the Jaguars, the Chiefs offense has come alive. They've come alive. For the season, they averaged 371 total yards per game. That's tied for 8th in the NFL. They averaged 241 passing yards per game. That's ranked 9th in the NFL. And they averaged 25 points per game, which is tied for 12th in the NFL. So they're starting to come alive. They're going to get back Rashid Rice after this game. He's going to return back from his 6-game suspension. And so I believe that the Chiefs offense It's starting to come alive. And that's what they're going to need. Because remember at the beginning of the season, the Chiefs were struggling to score points because they had nobody that could take the top off of it in defense. That was the problem. No Hollywood Brown, no Rashid Rice, and they struggled in the first few weeks of the season at being able to score points. Well, they got Hollywood Brown back now in the mix, and Hollywood Brown had 4 receptions, 48 receiving yards in a Week 5 loss against the Jaguars, and for the season, 26 receptions, 259 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. And I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Hollywood Brown and Rashid Rice's importance and value to this offense cannot be something that you could just forget about. You have to understand the importance of having a Hollywood Brown and a Rashid Rice in this Chiefs offense, because with all due respect to Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton, they are not Hollywood Brown and Rashid Rice. So once Rashid Rice comes back in Week 7, I believe this Chiefs offense will get taken to another level, and they will be one of the top 10 offenses in the NFL, maybe even at worst case, top 15 for sure, with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I'm looking at this Chiefs offense in this matchup against this Detroit Lions defense. Now, the Detroit Lions, obviously, in their defensive personnel, you got Aiden Hutchinson as your elite pass rusher. Okay, you got DJ Reader as well. And in your linebacker room, you got Alex Anzalone, okay, Jack Campbell, and Tyron Arnold is dealing with some injuries. He's their left cornerback, Tyrion Arnold. They got Brian Branch as well in that secondary, and Kirby Joseph. And I'm looking at the Lions' defensive rankings. They've been pretty average. They do well against the run. They only give up 92 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 7th in the NFL. And against the pass, they give up 207 passing yards per game. That's ranked 12th. So the strength of this Lions team is their offense, but their defense, honestly, has played better in 2025 than they did in 2024. Now, they had a lot of injuries last year. They had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. But the defense for the Lions is going to be key, because we know with their elite offense, they're going to score points. They are going to score points with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff as their quarterback. They are going to score points. But the key is going to be, can they get key stops at pivotal moments in football games? That's what's going to be key for the Detroit Lions. So, with that being said, I believe Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are desperate for a win. They are desperate to improve to 3-3 on the season and keep pace in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers. And so I believe that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to beat Dan Campbell and Jared Goff in Kansas City. I'm going Chiefs 27, Lions 24 in a close matchup on Sunday Night Football. But Patrick Mahomes gets his first career win against Jared Goff. Chiefs 27, Lions 24.